Part 1, The Quiet Before the Storm. The Texas borderlands stretched wide and wild under a blistering sun, a place where the horizon blurred into a haze of dust and defiance, where law was a suggestion and morality a ghost. Red Mesa, a speck of a town hugging the Rio Grande, was home to Jack Ramsey, a man who traded the chaos of war for the quiet of sheep trails 5 years back. At 42, he bore the scars of 20 years as a Special Forces K-9 handler, shrapnel lines on his forearms, a limp from a Baghdad blast, eyes that saw too much. All he wanted now was peace. Tending his flock with his Border Collie, Scout, and his German Shepherd, Reaper, 2 dogs who'd followed him from combat zones to this dusty nowhere. But peace was a lie in Cartel country. And when Los Lobos Cartel snatched Scout, thinking they'd nabbed a ranch mutt to send a message, they didn't know they'd just kicked a hornet's nest. That sleepy ranch hid Reaper, a decorated military K-9 with over 200 missions, and Jack, a ghost of war ready to unleash hell. Morning broke over Ramsey Ranch, painting long shadows across the cracked porch where Jack stood, coffee mug steaming in his calloused hands. His gray-streaked hair caught the breeze as he scanned the scrubland, an old habit from years hunting high-value targets. Scout darted through the sheep, black and white fur a blur, herding with a precision that made Jack's chest swell. Near his boots, Reaper lay coiled, ears twitching at every rustle, the German Shepherd's tan and black coat dusty but taut with muscle. His calm a predator's ruse. "Fine day, huh, boys?" Jack muttered, more to the wind than his dogs. Reaper's ears flicked, a silent nod to their shared past, 2 decades of covert ops. From Afghan mountains to Iraqi deserts, forged into a bond deeper than blood. Scout's sharp bark snapped Jack's focus south. The Border Collie froze, rigid as stone, staring at the fence line. Reaper surged to his feet, a growl rumbling low. Jack set his mug down, hazel eyes narrowing as he grabbed binoculars. Through the lens, he spotted 2 figures ducking in the brush, Cartel scouts. Sloppy with their cameras and cigarettes. "Go flush, Scout," he said, voice soft but steel-edged. Scout bolted, a streak of purpose, while Reaper stayed, awaiting the next command. The men bolted, abandoning gear in their panic, Los Lobos tags glinting in the dirt. "Good girl," Jack called as Scout trotted back, tail high. Reaper's gaze lingered south, a storm brewing in his silence. 30 miles away, in a Santa Rita compound carved into the hills, Diego Morales pounded a table, his gold-ringed fist rattling a tequila glass. "That damn dog screwing us again," he roared. Luis Navarro, Los Lobos border boss, glanced up from his tablet, his lean face shadowed by a Stetson. "The ranch is a choke point, our mules can't move dope through there without tripping alarms." Javier Ortiz, their scoutmaster, chewed a toothpick. Border Patrol's response doubled since those mutts started barking. "We're bleeding cash, thousands a day." Morales sneered. "What's the rancher? Some hick?" Navarro shrugged. "Jackson Ramsey. Sheep farmer, 5 years in Red Mesa. Keeps quiet. 2 dogs, Border Collies the pest, German Shepherd sticks close." Morales leaned back, eyes glinting. "Take the collie. Send a warning." Ortiz hesitated. "Boss, what if he fights?" Morales grinned, cold as a rattler. "Then bury him. This is our turf." Back at the ranch, Jack hammered a fence post, Reaper sprawled nearby, when Hank Grayson's pickup rattled up. The grizzled neighbor tipped his hat. "Mornin', Jack." "Scout tearing up the sheep?" Jack smirked, wiping sweat. "Like always." "What's up?" Hank's face darkened. "Town talk, cartels hitting ranches north. 3 gone last month." Jack's hammer paused, mind mapping distances, defensive lines. Choke points, old instincts flaring. Thanks, Hank. Eyes open. After Hank left, Jack crouched by Reaper. Ready to dust off the old tricks, boy? Reaper's stare burned, a warrior's yes. That evening, as the sun bled red over the sheep pens, Scout circled the flock, her final sweep. Reaper sat tense, both dogs sensing a shift Jack couldn't name. In the gathering dark, Carlos Vega and his Los Lobos crew crept closer, night vision goggles glowing. Take the collie alive, Vega hissed. Boss wants a show. Inside, Jack scrubbed his boots, but Reaper's sudden rise, silent, lethal, stopped him cold. Scout's bark cut the night, then choked off. Jack's hand twitched where his M9 once hung, Reaper already at the door, muscles primed. 20 years of war screamed in Jack's bones, trouble was here. And it was personal. Jack moved like a shadow, Reaper gliding beside him, a unit honed by years of silent kills. Track, Jack whispered, holding Scout's chew toy. Reaper sniffed. Then led south, nose low, no sound, just purpose. At the fence, Jack found tire tracks and a cigar stub, Cartel calling cards, lazy as hell. 4, maybe 5, he murmured. Reading Reaper's subtle cues. A truck rolled up, lights off, Sheriff Ethan Cole stepping out, flashlight slicing the dark. Late stroll, Jack? Ethan called. Jack emerged, voice flat. They took Scout. Ethan's jaw tightened. Los Lobos, getting bold. Jack pointed to the tracks. Sloppy, too. Ethan studied him, seeing past the farmer. You're calm for a guy minus a dog. Jack's eyes glinted. Panics for amateurs. They don't know what they've started. Ethan radioed, need eyes on SUVs heading south to Santa Rita, last hour. The crackle came back, Border Patrol saw 3. Old Canyon Crossing, 40 minutes ago. At the compound, Vega smirked at Navarro. Got the dog, boss. Easy, rancher didn't even stir. Morales wasn't sold. Too smooth. Vega laughed. What's he gonna do? Bleed at us? Back at the ranch, Jack unlocked a steel case, maps, sat phone, tactical vest, relics of a life he'd buried. Should have seen it coming, Reaper. He said, spreading border charts. Ethan whistled. Sheep farmer with spec ops gear? Who are you, Jack? Jack's grin didn't reach his eyes. 2nd Special Forces, K9 unit. Reaper and I ran 20 years. Most classified. They've got no clue who they've pissed off. Reaper growled, ears up, as a car door slammed, DEA agent Maria Vasquez stepping onto the porch, badge out. Sheriff Cole. Mr. Ramsey, Los Lobos isn't just dope anymore. They're swallowing ranches, building an empire. Yours is in their crosshairs. Jack nodded. Scout was the opener. Ethan frowned. They're testing him. Maria eyed the gear. And you're not who they think. Jack's voice hardened. They'll find out soon enough. In Santa Rita, Scout sat silent in a cage, eyes sharp. Watching everything. Los Lobos thought they'd nabbed a pawn. They just unleashed a war they couldn't win. Part 2, Shadows Stir the Dust. Red Mesa simmered under a Texas moon. The borderlands alive with whispers of menace. Los Lobos cartel had snatched Scout, Jack Ramsey's Border Collie, thinking they'd cowed a farmer into submission. They didn't know Jack was a Special Forces ghost with 20 years of blood and shadow. Or that Reaper, his German shepherd, was a combat legend with over 200 missions. The ranch wasn't just a dot on their smuggling map, it was a fortress hiding a predator ready to bite back. That stolen sheepdog was the match. Now Jack and Reaper were the fire, poised to burn Los Lobos' empire to ash. Night cloaked the ranch as Jack geared up, tactical vest snug against his chest. A familiar weight after years dormant. Reaper paced, tan and black fur taut, his military vest, Kevlar and custom, gleaming under the porch light. "Ready, boy?" Jack asked, scratching his ears. Reaper's posture snapped sharp, a soldier reborn. Sheriff Ethan Cole lingered, coffee in hand, eyeing the arsenal, maps, encrypted radios, a scoped rifle. "This ain't overkill for a dog." "Jack?" Ethan asked. Jack's hazel eyes glinted. "They didn't just take Scout, they hit my family. Los Lobos is about to learn a lesson." DEA agent Maria Vasquez stepped in, her dark hair pulled tight. "They're not just mules anymore, ranches are their new hubs." Scout's grab was a test. Jack nodded, spreading maps. "Then let's ace it." Outside Santa Rita, Jack and Reaper melted into the desert. Boots silent on rocky ground, night vision goggles painting the world green. Reaper froze, nose twitching, cartel patrol ahead, oblivious in their jeep. "Just like Kandahar," Jack whispered. Reaper's ears flicking agreement. They skirted the road, closing on the compound, a sprawl of tin roofs and guard towers nestled in the hills. Scout's bark cut the dark, sharp and alive. From a shed out back. Jack's scope found him, caged but alert, eyes glinting with purpose. "Smart girl," he muttered, noting her calm. Reaper marked the layout, 3 buildings. 4 towers, patrols sloppy but armed. Inside, Diego Morales chewed a cigar, glaring at Luis Navarro's tablet. "No noise from the rancher, nothing," Navarro reported. "No cops. No fuss." Morales frowned. "Too quiet." Carlos Vega swaggered in, grinning. "He's scared stiff, Americans are soft." Javier Ortiz wasn't sold, pacing. "I asked around, nobody knows this Ramsey guy pre-ranch. Like he dropped from the sky." Vega scoffed. "Paranoid much? He's a sheep herder." Ortiz pointed to footage. "That German shepherd's no pet, moves like military." Morales leaned forward. "Wait him out. He runs, we win. He fights, he's dead." Back on the ridge, Jack sketched guard routes, Reaper's growls guiding him. Headlights rumbled, 3 SUVs, sagging low. "Not dope," Jack whispered, spotting crates. "Guns, military grade." The compound buzzed as men unloaded rifles, their shapes unmistakable to a soldier's eye. "This ain't just a ranch grab." He radioed Ethan. At the sheriff's office, Ethan and Maria pored over photos, burned ranches, cartel tags. "They're staging points," Maria said. "Scouts barking messed their scouts, Ramsey's ranch is the linchpin." Ethan nodded. "And they picked the wrong guy." Jack's scope lingered as Vega kicked Scout's cage. "Shut it," he snarled. Scout fell silent, but her stare tracked him, studying. Waiting. Reaper tensed, a growl barely audible. "Easy," Jack soothed. "We do this smart." A rustle behind, Jack froze, hand signaling Reaper. "Friend or foe?" he whispered. Reaper's tail tapped once, "Friend." Border Patrol's Tom Alvarez slid up, whispering, "Vasquez said you'd be here. Been chasing this compound for months." Jack smirked. "Got eyes now. What's your move?" Alvarez grinned. "Official?" "Nothing yet, need cause." "Unofficial?" "I've got a squad when you're ready." Scout barked again, louder, drawing guards. Jack watched Vega storm over, oblivious to the chaos she'd sparked, a blind spot opening in their line. "She's fighting back," Jack said, pride flickering. At the compound, Ortiz grew antsy. It's too still, quiet ones are trouble. Morales waved him off. Send a message, rough the dog. Scare him off. Navarro smirked. One rancher won't stop us. As dawn crept in, Jack and Reaper slipped back, a new route each time, old habits. Ethan greeted them with coffee and sat images. Weapons, Jack, big ones, he said. Jack checked Reaper's vest. Good. More targets. They took Scout to flex, time to flex back. Part 3, the first strike burns bright. Red Mesa's dawn was a blood-red warning. The Texas borderlands trembling under Los Lobos cartel's shadow. They'd stolen Scout, Jack Ramsey's Border Collie, thinking they'd broken a farmer's spine. They didn't know Jack was a special forces vet with 20 years of war in his veins. Or that Reaper, his German shepherd, was a combat machine with over 200 missions. That ranch wasn't just a smuggling snag, it was a powder keg, and Jack's match was lit. The cartel's first lesson was coming. And it'd burn hotter than a desert noon. Midnight found Jack and Reaper at a Los Lobos weapons cache, 10 miles east of Santa Rita, a rusted warehouse squatting in the scrub. 2 guards patrolled, rifles slung lazy, eyes on the dark beyond. Reaper struck first, silent as death, a tan and black blur dropping the first man without a whimper. Good boy. Jack whispered, emerging to throat punch the second, a leg sweep finishing the job. Clear, he radioed. Sheriff Ethan Cole and Deputy Sam Torres crept up, zip-tying the guards. Minimal security, Ethan hissed. They're not expecting us. Jack's grin was grim. That's changing. Inside, Jack and Reaper moved like ghosts, documenting crates, AR-15s. RPGs, ammo stacks, a small army's worth. Military grade, Ethan muttered, snapping pics. Someone's feeding them straight from the source. Jack nodded, planting charges, precise. Controlled. Focus, we're sending a message, not ending the war. Reaper scouted ahead, ears up. Headlights flared, 2 SUVs roaring in. Company, Sam warned. Jack checked his watch. Right on time. Clear out, Reaper and I got this. Ethan hesitated. Trust me, Jack said, this ain't my first rodeo. Carlos Vega and Javier Ortiz spilled from the vehicles. Guns drawn. Check the guards. Vega barked, finding them down. Professional, military, Ortiz said, tense. The warehouse door creaked, 2 goons crept in, rifles up. Now. Jack whispered. Reaper lunged, a silent storm, dropping one with a crunch. Jack took the other, 2 strikes, weapon clattering. Vega spun, but Jack vanished into shadow. Trap. Ortiz yelled. Out. Too late, explosions ripped through, a chain of fire shredding the cache, lighting the night. Fall back. Vega roared, shooting blind. Reaper flanked, downing another with surgical grace. Jack's voice echoed from the dark, return the dog, or this is just the start. The SUVs peeled out, leaving wreckage and wounded. Reaper trotted back, tail flicking once, mission done. Ethan's radio buzzed, hell of a message, Jack. Opening shot, Jack replied, watching the blaze. At the compound, Diego Morales raged as Vega reported. 1 guy and a dog, he snarled. Ortiz cut in, not just any guy, special forces, maybe higher. Morales slammed his fist. Find out who he is, now. In Scout's cage, her ears perked at the distant booms, tail wagging faintly, she knew Jack was coming. Dawn lit the ranch as Jack cleaned gear, Reaper sprawled beside him. Ethan rolled up with news, cartels scrambling, millions lost. Jack nodded. They'll hit back, they've got Scout as leverage. Hank Grayson's truck screeched in, ranchers piling out. Heard what you did, Hank said. We're in, eyes and ears. Jack studied their weathered faces, tired of cartel boots on their necks. Appreciate it, but it's gonna get ugly. Hank spat. Been ugly too long. Now we fight. Reaper rose, ready, as Jack mapped their next move. Los Lobos was learning, mess with the wrong dog. And the wolf bites back. Part 4, the pack closes in. Red Mesa baked under a noon sun, the Texas borderlands a cauldron of dust and vengeance. Los Lobos cartel had snatched Scout. Jack Ramsey's Border Collie, sparking a war they couldn't fathom. Jack, a special forces vet with 20 years of shadows, and Reaper, his German shepherd with over 200 missions, had torched their weapons cache, a warning shot. Now the cartel knew they weren't facing a farmer, but a predator, and Scout wasn't just a sheepdog, she was a soldier playing her part. The game was on, and Jack's pack was tightening the noose. Jack stood at the ranch, map spread, Reaper and Scout's chew toy at his side. Sheriff Ethan Cole and DEA agent Maria Vasquez flanked him. Tension thick. They'll come hard, Maria said, sliding intel. Sat images of 3 convoys rolling north. They've got to, reputation's bleeding, Jack replied, checking Reaper's vest. Hank Grayson burst in, ranchers behind. 3 convoys, headed here. Jack's watch ticked. On schedule. Gear up, Reaper. The German Shepherd snapped to combat mode, a machine primed. The convoys roared in, a show of force, black SUVs and tactical rigs bristling with guns. Carlos Vega stepped out, megaphone blaring, Jackson Ramsey. 1 hour, clear out, or this ranch is ours. Reaper growled. Jack's hand calming him. Maria, Jack said, there's your probable cause. She smirked, radioing, all units, move, military weapons confirmed. Vega's men hefted RPGs, aiming at the house. Mistake, Jack muttered. Border Patrol roared in, sirens splitting the air, catching Los Lobos flat-footed. Reaper surged, marking threats, as Jack disarmed Vega in a blur, strikes honed by war. Drop M. Maria shouted, fed swarming. Some surrendered, others bolted, ranchers blocking every exit. Reaper sniffed out crates, guns, dope, proof piling up. Jack spotted Raul Mendez. Ex-Special Forces turned cartel gunrunner, slipping away. Let him run, Jack told Ethan. He'll lead us higher. At the compound, Diego Morales raged as news hit. They humiliated us, he roared at Luis Navarro. Cut up the dog, send it to him. Guards approached Scout's cage, but she sat calm, eyes piercing. Weird mutt, one muttered. Knows something. She did, Jack had trained her to wait. To watch. Back at the ranch, Jack examined captured rifles. Military supplier, Mendez, he told Maria. Tracked by 3 agencies now. This ain't just Scout, it's an army buildup. Ethan nodded. They're off balance, perfect. Jack's gaze hardened. Next, they'll hurt her to hit me. Won't work, Scout's my inside ace. Reaper stood ready, the pack closing in. And Los Lobos was about to bleed deeper. Part 5, Empire's Ashes at Dawn. Red Mesa's dawn broke crimson, the Texas borderlands a battlefield where Los Lobos cartel's empire teetered. They'd stolen Scout, Jack Ramsey's Border Collie, igniting a Special Forces vet and his German Shepherd, Reaper, 200 missions strong. Jack's strikes, cash burned. Convoy crushed, had exposed their weapons ring, and Scout's quiet cunning mapped their doom. Now, with Red Mesa's ranchers and feds at his back, Jack faced the cartel's final stand. A reckoning to end their reign. Night veiled the compound as Jack and Reaper slipped in, scouts intel, blind spots, guard shifts, guiding them. Reaper downed sentries silent. Jack planting charges. Inside, Diego Morales met Raul Mendez and Colonel Eduardo Salazar, Mexican military gone rogue. Hawkins is a ghost, Special Forces elite, Mendez warned. Morales sneered, he's one man. Salazar frowned. With a community and feds, our pipelines exposed. Scout whined, drawing guards, her limp a ruse, chaos her gift. Now, Jack whispered. Explosions tore the night, Reaper herding foes into traps. DEA stormed in, Maria Vasquez barking orders, ranchers sealing exits. Jack faced Morales, disarming Salazar as Scout bolted free. Reuniting with Reaper. She's no sheepdog, Jack said, she's my soldier. Morales roared, cuffed, as evidence, guns, files, corruption, piled up. Dawn saw Red Mesa reborn, cartel crushed. Ranches free. Jack stood with Scout and Reaper, the pack whole, proving one man, two dogs, and a town could topple giants. Los Lobos learned too late, steal from the wrong farmer. And the border burns. Life lessons from the story. Don't judge a book by its cover. Los Lobos saw Jack Ramsey as a quiet farmer and Scout as a simple sheepdog, big mistake. Beneath the Red Mesa dust. Jack's a Special Forces vet with 20 years of war, and Scout's a trained operative. Lesson? Looks deceive, America's toughest warriors often wear the plainest masks. Loyalty is a two-way street. Scout takes a cage for Jack, Reaper risks his life, and Jack burns an empire to save them. They're not just dogs, they're family, forged in combat. Loyalty isn't blind, it's a bond that fights back. A Texas-sized truth that hits hard. Preparation beats power. The cartel rolls in with guns and goons, but Jack's traps, Scout's intel, and Reaper's precision shred them. Brute force crumbles against a sharp mind, strategy. Not size, wins wars, straight from the Borderlands playbook. Underestimate at your peril. Los Lobos laughs at a sheep herder and his mutts, until Jack strikes and Red Mesa's ranchers bury them. Pride blinds, disrespect a quiet foe, and you're digging your own grave, a lesson etched in desert sand. Unity turns the tide. Jack starts solo, but Sheriff Ethan, DE Ace Maria, and Hank's ranchers join the pack. One man and two dogs spark a movement, together, they crush a cartel. America's strength isn't lone wolves, it's the pack that stands tall. Courage ignites change. Scout's silent fight, Reaper's fearless charge, Jack's relentless hunt, they don't flinch, and Red Mesa rises. Courage isn't loud, it's the spark that turns fear into fire. Lighting up the border. Know your enemy's weakness. Jack reads Los Lobos like a book, arrogance, sloppy tracks, predictable moves, and uses it to gut them. Victory's not just strength. It's seeing what they can't hide, a Special Forces edge in cowboy boots. A cause worth fighting for. Jack doesn't just save Scout, he frees Red Mesa from cartel chains. A stolen dog becomes a war for home. Proving the best battles defend what matters most, a Texas heart beating strong. Hey, Borderlands badasses and dog lovers, Jack, Scout, and Reaper just torched a cartel and rewrote Red Mesa's rules. Which lesson pumps you up most? Drop it below. Did Jack's smarts or Scout's guts steal the show? Got a tale of your own pack standing tough? Spill the beans, we're here for it. Hit that like if you'd fight with Jack's crew. And subscribe for more gritty showdowns, next one's a banger. Tap the bell to catch it fresh, and shout out, who's the Reaper or Scout in your life? Let's keep Red Mesa's spirit alive, talk to us now.